Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft with the rank 1 Terran player in the world. In the blue, it's Team Liquid's Clem. But opposite him, yet again, the fastest player, averaging over 600 actions per minute, the Italian stallion. It's Reynor. Once again, the kids' table is set in a best of 5 Terran versus Zerg Grand Finals. And we're going to have to see who takes home the cheese this time around. And there's one thing I want to take home from you, which is a like, and if you haven't made it there yet, a subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we? Yeah, Clem versus Reynor again. Yeah, obviously. 1,277 likes on this series, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than those two Zerglings to start things off. And Reapers from Clem as the aggression of Brenda bounced to kick it off. And Reynor will have to deal with the Reaper build. As behind it, not intending. So the Reapers have fallen a little out of style, but still very good at taking early map control. And Clem's Reaper micro is second to... Oh my god. Well, the Queen's just bouncing around, trying to get any kills here. Oh my... Revenge! Sorry. Very frustrating to deal with for the Zerg, but whenever you're able to get any of those Reapers, makes it a lot easier as time goes on. Clem biting off just a little more than he can chew. The Reapers, of course, heal faster than the Queens are able to, both passive and actively. But one of them gets a bit greedy. Clem trying to snipe off a Queen. Leave it to the Frenchman to assassinate them, but at the end of the day, Reynor's going to handle it. And was the third base delay worth it? The intent of this, for the most part, control the creep, control the drones, control the third. What you sacrifice, though, is just as important. You delay your second command center, delay your third. You don't have much tech behind. So you pretty much have to keep the Zerg under control, so that way they can't spiral up their production, their economy. Ooh, bit of a risky move, and the Zerglings get the wraparound gank in the mid lane. Get the Reaper on the Marines, and Clem in his hubris. There's a single Marine tucked in between the SCVs. Near perfect micro from Clem will allow him to get away with relatively few losses. The SCVs will box out the Zerglings, but trying to take out the Lings, like 12, 14 Lings, with only 2 Hellions and a couple Reapers, the hubris from Clem is maybe a bit too overconfident, as the Zerglings are able to surround and kill. And now, well, Clem has no map control. Clem just gave up, in that display, the ability to even threaten the drones. There will not be anything but a Liberator coming across the map. And Reynor already taking absolutely full advantage of it. He's got double upgrades. He's got more drones in production. He's already passed the 50 mark. That little detail there, losing just those few units. Those were all the units Clem's going to have for quite a while. He has to bring his barracks production online. And without anything but a Liberator here, as long as Reynor reacts quickly to it, well, now he's got to decide when he starts building units yet again. He's already got 16 more Lings on the way. 55 drones on 3 bases is perfectly good for spamming Zerglings. There's the lair. No Baneling nest yet. The Liberator flies right past an Overlord, so the Queen should be in position, but there are no Spore Crawlers here. Spore Crawlers a half measure, maybe 1/3 against the Liberators. Someone like Clem is not going to siege up their Liberator on the Spores. They're mostly a tactic for strongly discouraging Liberators in certain areas. But Medevac drop heading out. Double drop. He loaded up whatever Marines he had and is trying to keep the pressure on, because look at the creep spread already out of Reynor. He's got it nearly halfway across the map. Plenty of Queens on the field. But these Marines were able to slip by, and he might even be able to get the 4th base. And that would be a huge win here for Clem, as the 4th base is a real inflection point of production that the Zerg require. Using the hatchery against the Queens, but a Zergling counterattack leaves the 3rd base potentially vulnerable. There should be enough Zerglings to force the Marines back. Indeed, there are. The Queen's taking terrible, terrible damage, but saves the base. 8 SCVs down. And yet again, these two just laying into each other to start it off. But Reynor keeps the 4th base alive. He's got the upgrades ahead. Baneling speed in production. And enough Queens and creep to zone out of the 4th for now. Clem, not done. But the Queens say he is. And indeed, they will be driven back. Reynor stabilizes with a solid economy. That doesn't mean Clem has no opportunities here, but the margins are thin. Armory just now starts, which means 2-2 still pretty far off, though 1-1 is not that close to done, so it's actually lined up well with the Armory. Reynor has a notable advantage in upgrade timing. Right now he actually has a 2 upgrade advantage overall, so a significant benefit. The Baneling's trying to wrap around, but the target fire out of Clem gets all but 1. And that one has 1 HP left, which is a bit amusing for a Baneling for so many reasons. Another drop is loaded up. Clem not willing to let this sit by. Well, let's actually go to the Clem camp for just a moment. That's all most people can tolerate. But at the end of the day,
upgrade complete.
He needs to keep the pressure on both fronts. He has about as good of a situation as he's going to get for quite a while yet. Marines dancing back, boosted the medevacs, and the Zerglings, and Banelings, picks up, drops back, more Zerglings, but the map is covered in creep, and that means Reynor has the vision. He has the ability to respond to this. The creep spread, not just for speed, but for that vision from the creep tumors, such a critical part of the matchup, and that's why continuing to spread it despite the efforts of the Terrans is so important. Hive tech on the way. Spore crawlers to zone out in the main. Zerglings overrun. And the Marines, well, the Queens will hold it down. Reynor solidifying his position with a 5th hatchery. Clem, though, hasn't taken much damage at home, so even though Reynor has had map control, he's had this advantage for quite a while. If Clem is able to max out with 2-2 upgrades before Reynor has Hive Tech online, there's still quite a window of opportunity, especially now with the Banelings. Burrowed Banes try to unburrow in time. Speaking of burrow, the Widow Mines are getting added in. It's just Lings and Banes out of Reynor. He needs to drop those mine hits. Big one to start things off. Another hit. Relatively mediocre. Going to need some Overseers to deal with this. More Bane Mines out there, but they don't have range, nor do they hit air. Seems like a bit of a design flaw to me. The double drop. Continuing to harry. As a Clem is about even on supply. This is because Reynor now doing his best to tech up towards the lurkers. The Queens. Get off my Queen! Queens take down 2 medevacs, one of them near fellow Marines. And Clem's momentum is cut again. As Reynor continues to work his way up in supply, work his way up in tech, and work his way up in the economy. Currently outstripping Clem quite dramatically at all 3 counts. But Clem still has those units. The Bane Mine. Oh, that's one. Good enough. All right, Clem doesn't even give the obligatory counter skin. He's too busy at home. The Widow Mines will burrow. Big hits across the board. Hit the SCVs as well. Hydra's on top of the tanks. There's not too much behind. Widow Mine drawn out. 2 siege tanks down. 14 SCVs slaughtered. Mules will drop, but the damage is already done. Clem is driven back. And now, Reynor, he's got Hive Tech online. He's got seismic spines in production. He still has 90 drones. So Clem has maybe one more attack. Or, well, he has ghosts. So that is an option. The Queen's pushing away the Liberators. Reynor has locked things down. Liberator just hanging out there, sieging up the air. Mostly so that way it doesn't get pushed out of position or dragged by the Select All Army hotkey. Hydras, ping cushion the Liberator, knock it out of the sky, or well, what passes for it here. Stims come through. And, oh, Overseer taken out. Drops a couple changelings. The classic death rattle out of the Overseer. Five lurkers on the way. Northern base taken by Clem. That's his 5th. And he's nearly maxed out. It's that stage of the game where Zerg does have to be quite careful. It's very easy to throw away too much, confident that maxed out supply is going to be enough for you. But so far, Reynor handling it, though he doesn't have enough Overseers across the map to necessarily clean up all these mines. Trying to draw Clem into the Baneling mines here. Mines on both sides. Reynor, a Widow mine connects. Another one. But wait, there's more. Ghost goes down, but so do many of the Zerglings and Banelings. Immediately refilled by Reynor, who also throws a Nidus into the back of the third. Clem, his attention will be drawn in multiple directions here. As Reynor hits the northern base simultaneously, the lurkers are eviscerating the front line and all the way through to the back. The planetary under fire. The Nidus is taken out. A lot of the units out of position right now, so it's not easy to dislodge these lurkers if he can do it at all. The planetary continues being sliced by the lurkers. Forced back. Another Nidus on the way. The lurkers dive in yet again. The planetary on point. Still 90 drones, but 80 SCVs for Clem. Holds the line. In a Baneling mine at point blank range, he managed to get it. God. Reynor clearly trying to draw it out here, but it's time. Oh my god. Teasing us. Alright, Reynor needs to be careful not to spend too much time and attention. Oh, but the Banelings! We see the aftermath! And Clem drops 20 supply between all these fights. And without the bio to cover for the ghosts on their own aren't going to be enough against the Hydras and Lings. Down goes a planetary. A Nidus at the back. And Clem again besieged. Another Nidus into the main. There's nothing to take out. Of course, the accidental Cyclone is on the way. Thaddeus joining us yet again. Oh, more snipes. Nidus is taken out. Clem, the onslaught will continue. More lurkers. Reynor, still 90 drones. Still 200 supply. Still money in the bank. And still plenty on the map. The creep spread is good enough. The Hydras and Lings catching reinforcements. Clem can't seem to hold it together. Hydras and Lings, more than enough against an army just lacking in everything. He doesn't have the supply. The brute force, the battering ram is headed again for the base. No Overseer for the mines, but another one drawn out. Banelings coming through. Gotta be careful not to get caught on a planetary, but another hit. I believe there was a Baneling mine on that ramp there. I need to see. He comes through. It felt like it. As Reynor... Oh, I didn't even notice it. Good solid connection. They go flying. And even some infestors by the end. Reynor, a command performance in game 1. Very solid against pretty much everything. He shut down from the Reapers to the Hellions to the early drops and then dealing with the late game without overcommitting. Reynor, a solid game 1 to kick things off, showing he can still hang with Clem. Though, honestly, these two go back and forth week to week. Sometimes it looks like one of them has it all figured out, but that doesn't last long. Well, another really solid game for both sides, but we'll see if this next map brings us equilibrium, or if Reynor is able to expand his lead. Bane Mines finding real use yet again. Very cool to see. Though, incredibly APM intensive. And even players like Reynor sometimes have... It's just... So attention is a resource. It is a resource that's possibly most important at this level of StarCraft 2. It's not about 400 or 500 APM, though they both have it. But instead, like, you can micro your Zerglings and Banelings perfectly. But if you're only looking at one side of the map, the other is entirely vulnerable. So it's my favorite genre. I say my favorite genre of game is not real-time strategy. And if you've seen the second channel, shameless plug, you'll know that I'm not limited to real-time strategy games, but I have a genre of game that I've learned over the years that is my favorite. And that's chaos management. Chaos management. This also includes games like I've enjoyed in the past, PlanetSide 2. An MMO, FPS, RTS sort of. Many of you might know that one. Includes a lot of roguelike sort of games where you're just trying to survive and get as much done as possible. Games like Darktide or Vermintide as well, though not to the extent. But every real-time strategy game is chaos management. Just by definition. That is what real-time... Like, you're not going to be 100% perfect. You can't pause and make every action exactly what it needs to be. Contrary to YouTube belief. YouTube comment belief, of course. And that, I think, is the most compelling. Now, does it make for games that are more stressful than your average day job? Well, the solution to that is to make it your day job, so like and subscribe. But, and I think these two have me beat when it comes to chaos management. And why I just, every single time they face, pretty much, I will be featuring it. Because it doesn't matter who wins or loses. There will be chaos. And somebody will manage it a little bit better. Gold base on the way. It's gonna be Cyclones. And then Hellions behind. A 2 Cyclone opener. But it looks like just a bio build after these Cyclones, just to keep him a little bit busy. I don't know if Clem suspects these early roaches, but the Cyclone's significantly better against the early roach play overall. Just something with a little bit more stopping power and starting power. Well, they can attack while moving, so they don't really have to stop at all. Also helps out a lot. Very easy to snipe off these creep tumors. Ravagers, but Reynor's early roach pressure here kind of stalled out by the existence of these Cyclones. As without Zergling speed, there's nothing to keep him from cutting all the way across the map. He simply can't actually... Oh, no, Brenda, get out of the way! Oh, my God! Oh, Brenda! Try a diet plan! How dare you? I know, Susan, you're the same size. Roaches against the clones. Well, really, the roaches looking menacingly at the clones, or the clones shoot them in the back, as is customary. But assassinates another queen. Locks on to yet another... I think I'm reasonably sure he is microing the Cyclone lock, which, I mean, it auto-locks on, but Clem making a mountain out of this particular... Well, not really a molehill, but something smaller, like a small hill. That is what a mountain is in this scenario. Not to compare geographical features. Finally, one dies. But he's just trying to get that lock on. So, losing 1 Cyclone and 1 Hellion for 4 Lings, an Overlord, 4 Roaches, 2 Ravagers, and a Queen. And now, very importantly, he killed all those things before Reynor had... Like, this wouldn't matter if we were 6 minutes in, like we are now. Reynor had 60 drones, a lair, whatever. But Reynor had 35, 38 drones. So, he invested a significant portion of his early economy in this roach timing. And now, it's been hamstrung significantly. Now, the thing here is, a counterattack is actually going to be quite successful, it looks like, as Clem is boosting his medevacs across the map. So Chaos, it appears, is going to need to be managed. All right, double drop versus the Roach Ravager at the front. Siege tank is done. The depot wall will be brought down. But the double drop is absolutely gutting the main. Drone slaughtered, stutter step to death. The queens will be taken out next. And there's nothing at home. The one by one, the queen's gone down. But the Roach Ravager is breaking through as well. 10 SCVs dead. Roach Ravager onto the high ground, but the siege tank is like walled in. I think for the first, well, walling in a siege tank seems to have been a decisive move. Is that actually walled in there? It was on purpose. And then 18 SCVs dead, but 27 drones slaughtered. A decisive advantage for Clem, as Reynor has no upgrades. He's only got road speed on the way. Clem maintains more workers. He's got 1-1. The only saving grace here for Reynor is the gold base. If he didn't have the gold base, he may have just tapped out outright. But right now, it's desperate. But it's not quite over yet. The Queens gonna strongly discourage the medevacs. Take out a couple more Marines. Reynor going straight up to Infestation Pit, which I think is a smart call. You have to take big risks now, because you need huge rewards. And going up either with Infestors or with Hive is possibly the way to do that. Clem just sidestepping Corrosive Bile, gunning down roaches. He has the upgrades. Even against a superior number of roaches, you can definitely take a good trade with the 1-1 upgrades already done. And the creep spread lackluster. 4 Infestors and Burrow on the way. So Reynor taking a shot here. A money fungal catching essentially a max radius of Marines. If he's able to chain it together, is the makings of a turnaround. A scan will spot the Hive. I believe Reynor started it under the scan. That might be intentional. Either way, a Hive is the way to go. Corrosive Bile actually clips a medevac, but the Marines just standing their ground and gunning down roaches. So far, Clem has taken an incredibly cost-efficient battle across the board. Yeah, he lost a lot of time to the Roach Ravager, but it was superficial damage. Infestors, though, out of nowhere. Huge fungals. The medevacs will heal through most of it, though, if you don't have the damage to follow it up. Clem actually loses a lot of supply, but it takes 3 fungals to kill a Marine, and that's without any healing involved. Fires off, doesn't quite hit the double wave of Corrosive Bile, ends up killing 1 tank, and all it costs him is his entire army. Reynor will thin out the Marines, which the smaller the armies get in this scenario, I think favors the Zerg overall, as that critical mass of Marines is deadly, but he just didn't get enough of them. And now 2-2 is closing in. The tanks on the high ground. The gold base is about to be vulnerable. The only thing that was really giving Reynor a leg up here. And the tanks are shelling. More roaches on the way. The upgrades are even for now. But that's not going to last. Corrosive Biles snipe off 1 more tank. Plus 1 mech weapons is also in production. Oh no. Reinforcements have arrived. Trying some more Corrosive Bile. Gets another volley. Reynor doing everything he can here. Beautiful fungal. He has enough energy to chain them together. Another huge volley. And he's able to stay alive a little bit longer. Reynor is chipping away. Oh, he gets that last Corrosive Bile, but it costs more Ravagers. Clem has 4 bases now. He has the momentum. The fungals will catch a medevac, but these tanks continually rallied. And now the Marines have 2-2 upgrades done. An attempt at a counterattack in the center, but the Marines are standing their ground. They know their advantage. The supply continually favoring Reynor, but it is in Roach Ravager. Yes, the fact he's holding on this long is incredibly impressive. Burrow use for the roaches, Clem notices, cleans it up. There's really not that many units here. The siege tanks are going to be targeted, and Reynor making huge moves as Clem just relying on the strength of those Marines, but you know, Clem has had the advantages here, but Reynor is not dying. This is a very pragmatic and careful Reynor that I'm not used to seeing at all. In a good way. This is what needs to be done, but it's not always something you can rely on. Another siege tank taken down. Clem comfortably heading on 2 more command centers, goes 3-3, as Reynor will continue to survive. More roaches taken out. Roaches really living up to their name. Scurrying around and keeping Clem busy. But it is a testament to Reynor's tenacity that he's able to hold it all. As he holds on to his bases, he somehow keeps the gold. And the Roach Ravager count high enough to discourage the drops. And Reynor now, well, the big advantage for Clem remains in the infrastructure and upgrade. He still has this kind of institutional momentum that Reynor has not been able to build up quite yet. But as time goes on, Reynor gets closer and closer, and he's able to build up more and more. And the Fungals will catch more Marines. Ultras on the way. That first wave of Ultra is so important, but they're already ghosts in production, unfortunately here. They haven't been revealed yet. The creep spread is being rebuilt. Taking down the rocks. Burrow festers all throughout the field. But Clem unable to quite cut through with the edge he had. I truly expected. And honestly, a little embarrassed by my comp. No, I stand by it. Clem had and still has significant advantages. The supply does not tell the story in this sort of scenario. It is Reynor making massive plays here. You see what he's doing with the Infestor, but Clem suspects it. I think he made it way too obvious, like what he was going for there. Getting that Infestor is a huge blow, as Reynor had an opportunity to turn it all around. I think that Infestor had 2 Fungals ready as well, but I do stand by it. Sometimes, rarely does it turn around this much. Or turn around, I mean, closer to even. Okay, Clem still has all his bases untouched. He still has 3-3 versus 1-1. Well, plus 2, another beautiful fungal. But between the Infestors, the Ravager control, and just Clem's kind of piecemeal attack strategies, Reynor has built up a bank. And if he catches up in upgrades, he certainly has opportunity. Roaches coming in again. Clem forced to come back to defend. The Roaches are easily replaceable. I think keeping that gold base alive has been absolutely critical. Without it, without the economy that provides, especially when competing with mules, Reynor would not be able to support this level of unit production, let alone any tech. But that gold base really paid off here. And now, as the upgrades slowly trickle up, we're gonna have +3 Carapace. And it looks like Clem has just decided to sit back and turtle up. Reynor has successfully beaten him back to his side of the map, and we're gonna cut it in half now. Wow. Reynor just refusing to die. Clem taking inordinate damage from those Infestors. Reynor making great use of Burrow throughout this series. And as you know, Terran players would rather give up their firstborn child, probably all their children, which is probably a good thing, before making a Raven. Terran players would sign up for a timeshare, as well as reactivate their Facebook account, rather than building a Raven. Terran players would potentially actually respond to text messages asking whether they're going to show up for something in a timely manner, as opposed to waiting way too long and then being like, sorry, my bad, sorry for the late reply. Then build a Raven. So, of course, when you have 5... I'm not saying a Raven is the be-all, end-all, but it is highly amusing. I think Gumiho is the only player who really does it. We got nukes on the way. 6 command centers. The volley of snipes just obliterating the front line of Ultralisks. Reynor now has taken his half of the map. And starting on Clem's. Clem does have 15 ghosts. At least 1 nuclear missile. Make that 2. And we're cutting the map in half. So many minerals in the bank here, but actually a little more gas for Clem, who's also going for the building armor high-sec auto-tracking upgrade. This map very hard to assault on the ground. As, well, Clem kind of found out, but more in the late game with these huge armies trying to come up ramps and through choke points. The Ultras literally jammed in here, can't get around a single Ultra, but target fire is good. And Clem's efficiency coming through yet again. But Reynor brings more to the table. But one of the infestors sniped off. And as soon as the ghosts get some space, they line up their shots. Reynor is breaking through the third. The Ultra is being used as a literal meat shield, as are the Banelings. Gonna split the ghosts, which are remarkably good at just auto-attacking down the Banes. Some of the Ultras working their way through. 15 SCVs down. I don't know if he even needs them. But there is an infestor and a huge fungal! And that one is a big one. He's gonna get a bunch of the ghosts here. Turns things around, lays down the snipes, but that infestor just kind of wandered its way into the fray. The Ultras took out all the turrets in that base, and just a moment without a scan. Well, Ravager's being chased. Reynor keeping the aggression on, but Clem's bank is drying up here. The ghost can't seem to stay alive. He's picking them up now into the medevacs, dropping them right back down. The Zerglings and Banelings, well, they'll break upon them. But, well, Reynor has lost, wow, double the gas. And 7,000 more minerals. And when you cut the map in half, you have access to the same amount of resources, so that does seem to be a relevant counter. Clem with like 8 sensor towers here. Another brutal game between these two. 50,000, 58,000 resources lost in 20 minutes. Not quite a record for them, but getting there. Infestors underneath. Scanning. At this point, he has 9 orbitals. He could just be scanning essentially the entire area around his army where an infestor could be. More liberators all across. He's got 14 liberators, one of them on the Zerg bases. The infestors pops 1. Another one dies to a widow mine. That means no fungals. That means the ghosts line up their shots. And that means the Ultras are now very vulnerable. Point blank range, lining up more. The Corruptors looking to take out the Liberators, but still zoning out so much of it. Fires off another volley, able to escape back onto the creep. Reynor starting to dwindle when it comes to the bank, as his army is designed to bludgeon Clem and pry open the advantage and stream through the gap. It is not a cost-effective late-game army. It is a battering ram. And right now, it's losing momentum, but a huge counterattack. Mass Zergling. Widow Mines will take massive bites out of it. Meanwhile, the Liberators coming forward, but the Ghosts falling to the Widow Mines. Zerglings on top of more Ghosts. Widow Mines at the front. Siege tanks going to help out. Retreats to the Planetary Fortress, but the Zerglings in the natural in the third will kill some more SCVs and drag that all-important attention back. Reynor wiping out the Liberators. Clem struggling to keep the supply up. Reynor is currently grinding it completely back against Clem. Clem needs to pull it together now, or it might be never. Another army going to get caught, falling back to the planetary, trying to get behind it, find some shots with the snipes, takes out another volley. Takes out the ultras with another volley. Another infestor scanned, some more snipes come through, more infestors on the ground, but the corruptors now, even if he had a Raven, I want to make it clear, this is the phase of the game where a Raven wouldn't necessarily help, and it would just be a liability. It's before the corruptors, what I criticize. Gotta make sure my criticism is well received, or at least accurately received. Oh, the fungal not going to come through as the infestor is scanned and killed beforehand. The ghosts, Vikings though, in order to compete. He's got +2/2 in the skies, and a drop to the north. Wait, that's Clem's side of the map. More scans. And Reynor re-expanded. I guess that base was taken out, or was it never taken? Honestly, entirely missed it. That's my fault. Reynor 620 to Clem's 500 or so APM. I mean, there's a lot more Zerglings than Marines and Ghosts on the field, but both these players at the absolute limit. The Liberators. Ghost looking for shots. Fires off a volley. There's not enough splash damage to interrupt, but the Zerglings are underneath. The Vikings are fighting the Corruptors. The Corruptors will win on their own, but once the Ghosts get an opportunity. It looks like the drop is cleaned up. Reynor continues to mine from Clem's side of the map, but Clem, as things slow down, the Ghosts become more and more valuable. Sniping out another round. The Vikings en masse to just deal with the Corruptors directly. Some of the units over to the north side, that base will be shut down. Clem cannot afford, literally and figuratively, to let Reynor do that. A bit of a lull in the action in the center of the map as the Ghosts and Ultras stand up. But more Ultras coming across. Another. Oh yeah, remember those? Remember when you find a nuclear missile in your back pocket, a scan spots the infestor yet again. Reynor's moving away, but he has to look for the nuke, and that gives an opportunity for Clem to maybe jump the army in the middle of the map, catches a couple of the drones, and Reynor's momentum, the income, has dwindled dramatically. Another nuke. He has 2 nukes in his back pocket, you know, as one does. And Clem is using this opportunity. Lines up a volley, but the Ultras close the distance, and not all the Ghosts are able to get their snipes off. The Whittle Mines, the nuke, did not go off. The Queen's body blocked in the Ultras. Oh no, Clem looking to take this base. But the Corruptors are being taken down. And without them, well, now Clem has air superiority yet again. And that means Liberators are back on the menu. As Liberators have joined production, +3 ship weapons, Reynor's economy for about 10 minutes has been enough to maintain this sort of army. But I gotta say, I am incredibly impressed with Reynor able to bring this game as far as he did. Like, this... It wasn't that Clem made big mistakes. Yeah, you get fungled once or twice. Speaking of... Oh, it's not over yet, I guess! He doesn't have 2 fungals. He's able to pick up and get out, but he was able to chain that together. Reynor still making it happen, but the army is pure Ghost now. There's no the bio units are incidental. He has 20 Ghosts. He's adding a few more in as he's actually out of gas. God, Reynor has done so much here. It's just, he had to climb out of such a massive deficit, and he dragged it back to the precipice. There's no detection. The Infestor, EMP'd. The Ghosts are being killed incidentally, but that's it. No Overseers. Zerglings find another base. I keep saying that's it, but Reynor refuses to die. There's just no money left for him, though. God, what a game, especially out of Reynor. Clem locks it down, but not quite able to knock him out with those advantages. And Reynor not willing to tap it out quite yet, but the detection with the Vikings on the field, the Overseers are now unable to really reliably get anything done. So at the end of the day, well, another fungal, but he's able to pick up and get out after it ends. God, very impressive game by Reynor there. Also, of course, by Clem. GG. But wow, How many resources? 26 minutes. 118,000 resources lost. I think the record was about 4,000, 4.2 between these two. These two just keep setting the record. But 4.2 thousand lost per minute. So 118 divided by 26 is, I think, more than 4.2 thousand per minute. So this may have been the most resources lost per minute of any game I've ever seen. Which essentially is reset every other time these two play. But Reynor truly he's so close to dragging that back over the edge. And I want to go back one more time and stand by my commentary. Clem had all the advantages. Clem had every opportunity. But he had to execute. And Reynor did everything right to stay in the game and almost turn it around. So what an absolutely great game. But at the end of the day, Clem powers through and ties it up. We've reached equilibrium here on Hard Lead. 1-1. And I don't want to dwell too far on it, but it very much annoys me personally when people will call, all right, GG any second, right, this guy's gonna win. And I pride myself on not doing that on a regular basis. If I say somebody has a distinct advantage, it's because they do, not because I want to be like ahead of the curve and call GG. But in that scenario, 95, 97% of the time, the Zerg dies. And they die quickly. Like 1-2 fights, 1-2 minutes. It requires near perfect response. And Reynor did. This is a Reynor I haven't seen for a while. That killer instinct. Like, Reynor, I think, I don't want to use the word coast, but has a tendency to rely entirely on his speed. Cyril, on the other hand, is not. He has less APM than either of these two players. Cyril averages about 450, which, you know, is quite respectable. But he is the epitome of working smarter and not harder. Compare that to 500 for Clem, 600 for Reynor. Cyril, at the end of the day, if you had to pinpoint something he does, yeah, the infestors. But infestors are not a high APM unit, right? Like, infestors are not, like, you're doing constant infestor splits. It's just, you know, you don't have to do crazy splits against Widow Mines. You don't have to build thousands of Zerglings. If you had that infestor in place a minute ago, if you're a minute ahead of the curve, then you don't need 50 more APM to figure out how to beat the army. You need 2. Unburrow and Fungal. Like, well, select Unburrow and Fungal. You get the idea. So, I saw for the first time in a little while some of that out of Reynor, which is good to see. And I look forward to more. Clem as well, with a different style, trying the tank pushes instead of relying on the mines. We did eventually get to the mines. I think part of this is maybe testing out different styles before the Widow Mine slight nerf, even though Clem himself has said the upcoming patch with the Widow Mine radius and, like, targeting line nerf is, doesn't really, especially in Terran versus Protoss, I'm not sure about Zerg, doesn't have a noticeable effect on the matchup. Despite how the numbers might seem, it still usually gets the same amount of damage against top-tier players who rarely take a max radius hit. But enough pontificating. It's time to talk about this Hellbat Marauder all-in. Clem. Now, this is one of my... I like the 3cc. Hellbat all-ins are my... get a wag of the finger from me. On 2 base. Because they're countered outright by queens. Whereas 3 base Hellbat timings are definitely worth exploring. This really does feel like, with the armory coming in... Brenda! No, I can't move! That's just normal! Like, less than usual, Susan! Oh, no! Well... Clem, only morphing some Hellbats there. The medevac badly bruised. More queens coming up to defend. The Zerglings kind of obsolete here. That's way too many Hellbats to engage. Evo chamber to body block out. Down goes the medevac, but the queens have already taken terrible, terrible damage. The Hellbats moving forward. And a huge surround. The Zerglings, wow, it almost looks like an AI control there. So the Zerglings try to dodge the Hellbat cones. And, well, even though the queens are slaughtered, enough of them survive. The Zerglings hunt down the Reaper, and did that get enough damage done? That's the question. I'm gonna go with no. Again, like, the queens and the Zerglings, the Hellbats are just, they're a bit slow. They don't have much range. And they don't hit air, so they're not queens in another form. And a Spire is on the way. It's time for Mutas. Reynor. A beautiful choice, especially in this exact scenario where you're up against the delayed barracks production. Reynor making such great moves in this series. Like, he's always a great player, but it feels inspired. Puns intended today. All right, 8 mutas. He does have, now, even though these mutas are hitting at a great timing, his upgrades are going to be significantly behind. So the mutas do have a lot of work. What? Okay, I think a bit of a misclick of a Rags there. Oh, he was re-rallying and had the barracks hotkeyed while it was flying. Though it's weird he built a reactor. Well, Baneling Nest is not yet done. And the Hellbats. He needs the Banes. Where are the Mutas? Mutas on the way across the map. And that leaves him with relatively minimal units at home to defend. There's no upgrades. Oh my god, the Mutas are just not doing anything during all this. The Banes might finish, but the Queens are already dead. Gets into the medevacs, splits the Hellbats. Oh my. The Mutas into the natural. There are no turrets there, but the Marines are already scrambling to defend. The drop into the main. 1-1 not quite done yet. Baneling speed not even started. Oh no. Well, the third base is vulnerable, but the Baneling Nest itself. Baneling gets close enough. Spore crawlers, but are there enough Zerglings back at home to defend? He's just building more Mutas. Combat shield in 1-1. Oh no, the Baneling Nest is being used against him. And it's a disaster right now for Reynor. Would look to be a great defense into the Mutas, but the major weakness of the Mutas is how fragile they are. Unable to take a straight-up fight, crumbling to the Marines, and Reynor dips 40 supply. He might lose. He might be able to kill 30 SCVs, but he can't stop the Marines. The Marines continue. Another Muta goes down. And that's it. The Marines just gun their way through, and Clem takes another one. Oh, it's a mess today. Complimenting Reynor on his inspired strategies, immediately dies. Say Reynor's about dead, survives 15 more minutes. Ooh, well. I predict this will be a horrible game, and it's going to be bad and not exciting at all. All right, I think I've set it up, guys. Hopefully we cast or curse it into a good game, but I don't think it works like that. My shamanistic tendencies only show up during a full moon. There's no moon. I can't see a moon from in here. I'd have to go touch grass. All right, moving on. Game 4. Solar is where? On the Korean Cup. But also the map. Okay. All right, edit the last, Jimmy, just the whole, like, the full, like, 90 seconds. Just all of it. Just, okay. And Game 4, Solaris. Clem up 2-1 after, still. This could have been 3-0 for Reynor by now. Or 3-0 for Clem, though Game 1 did seem more Reynor than Clem, so you know what? I wouldn't say that much. But Clem has found the edge in the last 2 games. This is routinely a Zerg leaning map here. If there ever is an opportunity, it's just the sheer size. All right, I'm not one to judge. But with this much space to work with, and speaking of, Brenda tries to respond, goes for the, but boxes out, and don't come back. No, the Reaper, not able to get the creep tumor, but the sheer distance between the bases, and the, use my best words, counterattack opportunities, which is quite a mouthful, really define it. It's very hard, if you don't get damage done early, to keep control of the situation as Terran. So we'll see. Cyclones. The Cyclone Hellion opener, yet again. I don't know why. I was debating. I'm like, another Clem versus Reynor TVZ. We've seen it before. We'll see it again. But, like, chess hasn't gotten a patch in some hundreds of years. And people still watch that. So, watching... And we've actually seen some new strategies here today. Honestly, every game has been a little bit different than what we're used to. Like this Cyclone Hellion, just 2 clones. Start things off. Zergling counter here. Last game, Reynor's Mutas, and a Hellbat timing. This Hell Clone opener, oh my god, a triple Brenda bounce. But a huge Zergling counterattack while he's microing the clones. Gonna sacrifice the and by huge, I mean kind of minimal. Gonna sacrifice the queens in order to keep the Cyclones distracted. The Springboard Lings coming through the speed zones. So Reynor ends up losing 2 queens and a bunch of Lings. But he does end up killing the majority of the Hellions and the Cyclones. So, now what? Now where are we? What are we doing? Stop. Who, what, why, where, when? Double NG Bay, double Evo. Clem, slight advantage. Zergling counter yet again. And is there anything at home? Well, the Lings get in, but so do the Hellions. But the Queens, stop right there, criminal scum. Unfortunately, they don't. 15 SCVs dead. 18, but 7 drones. 8. It's not going to be as much damage. Well, the Hellions aren't dead yet. They're still going. Gets 1 more. Maybe 1 more hit? Not quite. So. Well. Huh. $50 drones. 36 SCVs. Reynor's able to start his 1-1 immediately. Clem hasn't gotten there yet. So Reynor definitely comes out ahead on these exchanges. As Clem just not doing his due diligence here. Doesn't have the wall up. That's too many Marines now to deal with for the Zerglings. But again, a defining characteristic is the creep spread, the upgrades, just the map control for Zerg. And now Clem has given that up. Not necessarily his intent, but he no longer has the ability to really keep control of the situation, or creep control of the situation. And we'll load up into the medevacs, head across, and this is going to be his attempt to do so. But Reynor now, taking a 4th, gets some more SCVs, delaying the 3rd. Clem bleeding out now from quite literally 1,000 cuts at the Zerglings. The drops get a bit greedy, head towards the main. That's how you know he's desperate, is instead of going for the creep, is just trying to get damage done like in the main. That is just giving more time for the Zerg to build up their economy, get their creep spread. Trading that opportunity for getting potentially a lot of economic damage. But it's a low percentage play. You're not likely to, oh my. You're not likely to actually kill a ton of drones, unless Reynor made a critical mistake and just didn't build any Zerglings back at home. Or just had him completely out of position. But Clem feels like he's so far behind that he has to make that sort of play. He has to dive for the main. And it's not working. So now it's up to Clem. He's in the position that Reynor was on Equilibrium, where he's got to do what he can to keep control of the situation. Whereas Reynor is going to have the upgrades, the economy, and the map control. So, we'll see if Reynor's able to lock it down, or if Clem can drag his way back. Infestation pit on the way, heading already towards the hive. Three barracks. 2-2. He's putting all the fixins together, but just look at the creep spread. That is map control. Banelings just casually roll in, kill some Marines. The Dubula. That's a Dubula. The Bubula, the slow zones in the red, and then the Dubula, the speed zones, coined by the profound wordsmith Tasteless to represent. I saw some questions about why they're called that. It's because Tasteless has the best words in GSL. But the hive tech is on the way. Clem being boxed out. No lurker den. But Reynor likely going to just invest in 2 or 3 Vipers and use them to try to crack open the defenses. Clem, he's moving out with 2-2. Knows that time is not on his side. The creep continues. The army supply is actually in favor of the Frenchmen. So this is possibly the best opportunity to get the damage done. And the Banelings are rolling through onto creep, though. A lot of Marines in a good angle. Another wave of Banes. The tanks jamming themselves into these corners. Here come the Banelings. Reynor could potentially give up this base if he needs to. 2-2 is 15 seconds out. If Reynor can take a fight before that, that would be ideal. A big Zergling counter. Here we go. Well, the Zerglings get some of the tanks at the back. +2 weapons and armor finishing, so ideal timing for Clem, but does he have enough units? Lings and Banes rolling in. The Liberators will replace the tanks. A set of burrowed Banes are scanned and taken out. 3 Vipers on the way. But Reynor will be forced to drop this base, or at least driven away. The Banelings trying to roll in, but now the drone's under fire. And Clem starting to get damage on both sides. He takes out 1 hatch. More Banelings rolling in. He might get both hatches here. And Reynor actually, he tried to have it both ways. He tried to get to hive tech, and he tried to break the army. But Clem now, he has even supply. He has a 4th command center on the way. Reynor's been driven back to 3 bases. The hive tech is still going to be, the Vipers are still going to be an existential threat to the Terran army. But Clem is making it happen here. Absolutely incredible on both sides. Neither of them willing to just give up and go down, but instead pick themselves back up and pull it together. Both play into their strengths. I think both players in this series have really shown they know what they need to do to put together a comeback. But at the same time, they know what they need to do to close it out. As he yanks in a full medevac of Marines and knocks it down with the Hydralisks. He got lurkers on the way. Clem got a temporary advantage and is trying to translate it into a more permanent one. As with that hive tech on the way, or not on the way, already here, the Vipers here, there are no ghosts. And really the army is mostly Marines and a few Liberators. So, aggression, violence, and momentum needs to be on Clem's side. But double parasitic bomb onto the medevacs, 2 of them quarantined, which means there's not much more Viper energy to work with. Banelings rolling through on the creep. Down goes a set of the tanks. The double siege here. Big Zergling counterattack. Drops back into the mineral line. And Clem will hold for now. But the Viper's gaining energy from a very precarious hatchery. The siege tanks continually shelling anything that gets close. The Liberator's moving forward. Reynor's re-expanded. But now, Parasitic Bomb, yet again, really milking those Vipers for everything they're worth, which is a very uncomfortable sentence, I might add. And the medevacs, only 2 left, and they're both pretty much out of energy. But reinforcements have arrived, as Clem is looking to double down. The creep has been driven back for the most part, though a conspicuous creep tumor directly under the army. But Lurkers on the field, yanking in the Liberators, knocks down 2. Gets one of the tanks as well. Easily slices it up. The Lurkers doing a surprising amount. Another tank! And Clem with no ghost to deal with this. The Lurkers should be able to hold on to the base, as Reynor's Viper control has been immaculate here. The only thing I would criticize is continually consuming this hatchery, as it's stressing me out. It'll be fine, bro. It's just a taste. Yeah. Reynor's maxed out. Clem, quite far off, but he has managed to get that, the Banelings. Reynor clearly selecting them there. Clem heading up to the north side. Without ghosts, eventually the Lurker count is too much. That's just how it is. No adrenal glands, which means the Zerglings are a bit underwhelming here. But the Hydras and Lurkers are certainly not. No adrenal glands is a bit of an oversight out of Reynor for sure. A huge attack speed, and he agrees. Starts it up. Wondering why his Zerglings are quite so impotent. Clem backs off. Starts a Ghost Academy, but he wasn't able to limit Reynor's economy. And now Reynor, it's his turn to come knocking. Takes down the rocks. And the Lurkers on both sides here. Clem must survive this onslaught. And I don't know if he can. Reynor now has re-established all of his bases. Yanks a tank down to the low ground, eviscerates it. The Marines find a good angle, but they're just buying time. Another attack. More tanks taken out. The Lurkers driving forward. Always a bit without the ghost, but a good split. And Reynor's Lurkers are cut down for now. Meanwhile, more attacks. Yanks in another tank. Clem holding the high ground. The ghost count is growing from 0, which very important. Another orbital is landing. I don't think that's the main base quite yet, but Clem has not had the opportunity to get that mass command center style. Reynor has limited him to barely expanding for now. But more command centers on the way. Clem not maxed out. Army supplies are about even, as Reynor has 90 drones at the moment. His economy is massive. Is a huge resource or income lead. Carapace level 3. Another drop to the north side. The Queen's in position to defend, but just the Queens. They're hardying up. +3 Carapace is done. They move forward. Brenda, we march! Forward! Well, the Queens hold. And the drops are shut down. The Lurkers. Oh my god. Okay. He had Lurkers on hold position. He had Lurkers on hold fire, but he realized there was a turret coming up, so we'll deal with it. Parasitic Bomb. Medevacs. Oh no, the Vikings taking a lot of damage from it as well. Almost kills off the Vikings. More Banelings rolling in. And Reynor is just locking down this base. And again, the banelings rolling in. The bunker is cracked open, and the juicy marines extracted. Evaporated. Another round of banelings rolling in. He's got some burrow banes down there as well, of course. And Clem is just bleeding out. More Zerglings, more banelings, more Hydras. There are some hold fire lurkers. Wait, are they hold fire? We'll see. No, but the ghost doing some fancy splits here, dancing in and out of lurker range, but he doesn't have time for dancing. And another volley. Ooh. These lurkers getting a surprising amount of gun against the ghosts, who are continuing to dance. But while he's busy pirouetting around, here come the Zerglings, here come the Hydras. And Clem, once again, will try to hold. But once again, Reynor streams in. This base is just absolutely gone. The Zerglings heading into the natural. 10 SCVs down in Reynor's economy. The burrowed Banes and the classic scan after burrow. The Viper's parasitic bomb. A ghost being taken out. And Clem is crumbling. A beautiful game from Reynor. Clem, again, refusing to crumble. But instead of falling apart, he's just being battered into submission right now. It's just too high of a hill to climb. Unlike for the Zerg. Zerglings headed towards the main. Zerglings in the expansions. Clem, the Ghost Academy under attack. Zerglings now on top of another tank. Burrowedlings everywhere. Gee, we're all tied up. We're going to Game 5 in possibly the closest match between these two, and that is certainly saying something. Wow. Well, these are certainly some great games. Of course we're going to Game 5. Again, this time around, Clem is the one dragging it almost all the way back. But, Reynor, you made a little mistake and mistake is arguable. Everything's arguable here because against almost anyone but Clem, maybe he breaks through and crushes the army and just wins the game. You have 200 supply of Zerg, you feel like maybe you should fight. But that little opening gave Clem the opportunity to potentially drag the game back. But Reynor held on, he pulled it together, and he executed. And that means we're all tied up. As we go now, Keone. In the top right, Team Liquid's Clem. In the bottom left, Basilisk's Reynor. All right, how does it end? The Reaper Dance. I don't have a big discussion topic for the start of this game. Sometimes it's planned out. Well, not really planned out, but there's not much more to talk about. I mean, there's plenty, which is paralyzed by indecision, more accurately. But both these two, clearly with strengths and weaknesses that are complementary and contradicting. Just like that statement. They're both so good in the mid-game that sometimes it backfires. Like, they're both so ready to fight at that near 200 supply. That's my favorite time in the game as well. Like, that's when I, in my very, very much slower and worse games, win or lose many of them. And that's my favorite time of StarCraft too. It's not when we're maxed out. sitting there on all the bases with all the money, building chess pieces in order to figure out what that late game army is. It is when, like I said, chaos management. It is when you have all the pieces on the field and you're moving them around as fast as possible. Maybe you're concentrating. It reminds me of, I'm going to reference Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, which is my favorite mechanic, is trash units. And no, I'm not talking about Protoss or like Zerglings, but how you have resources, Age of Empires 2. You have wood, food, and gold. We'll just stick with those three. So wood and food are easy to come by. They literally grow out of the ground. You find them everywhere. Gold, on the other hand, is more like Vespene gas. So you have a lot of units called trash units that are made out of wood and food. And you just make them endlessly, because you have essentially an unlimited supply, or close to it, as the game goes on. But your gold units, which are like your power units, like your knights, sort of units, or siege, those are the ones that kind of wade through. And where you apply those units is the most important, because that's how you're going to break defenses, find attacks. Trash units like the Zerglings can definitely make a difference, but it's when you apply those power units, which in this case, Vipers, Ghosts, Liberators, Lurkers. It reminds me very much of that, because we have constant skirmishes between Marines and Zerglings and Banelings, but the power units deciding it. And that is my favorite part to watch of Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, which, now, for you, if you don't get to talk, even though you're my target demographic. If you had Age of Empires 2, not Definitive, but the regular, like, in a CD-ROM with the Prima Strategy Guide edition, no, the graphics of Definitive Edition are not great. They're good for what it is. They're appropriate. But that is the only thing. If they had, for some reason, like a modern update, like if they made a new Age of Empires game based on that, but with 3D graphics, essentially identical, well, maybe. I do prefer my sci-fi, though, personally. I like my space marines. I like my aliens. Well, it depends. Depends on which aim, but I would prefer any new sort of RTS. Would be more focused on that sort of, not big on the historical games, inside or otherwise, but I like chaos management either way. Now, with that all said, the battle begins. Clem has yet to lose a unit. And that will continue into the 6-minute mark. Typical Game 5. Neither player taking any risks here. Literally sitting back and building up. There wasn't even, like, Hellion aggressive. He built, like, a couple Hellions. Wow. I was able to spend essentially the time it takes to build your first army unit in Age of Empires 2, which is the main criticism. Just talking about Age of Empires 2 before these two fought. And we're still doing so. But here comes Clem, sending more across the map. It's just mass Marines. He has 33 Marines, 4 medevacs, and he has a tank and a couple Hellions at home. One Queen goes down, and the first Marine. They'll expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. Wow, just a full-on macro game. Neither player willing to risk it. Is that 2 armories, Clem? I don't know if that's intentional, but an infestation pit as well. Not enough Banelings to deal with Clem's army here. At least not quite yet. The Banelings rolling down. The double armory. I mean, not a huge investment. Especially with next patch, but... Queens driving back the Marines. Still. Upgrades. Well, did Clem got armor first. By, like, a decent margin, which is a bit odd. And now we've got the Drilling Claws mines. Not really a rush, but about as quick as you can get them here. He's got double factory. So he's gone into mass Widow Mine in this final match. Sticking to his, well, not his guns, but his underground missile platforms. Wings and Banes still chasing down the medevacs, but they're still just flirting all over the map here. Neither player willing to commit to an engagement. Will they, won't they? Find out on this episode of the Kids Table, ESL Cup Finals. And here we go, the Lings and Banes rolling around. The Zerglings on top of the Marines. A big group of Marines at the back line, though, are able to hold. And the tank positioning is beautiful there. Clem abusing those mineral lines. The fact that the rocks are not taken down as well. He could easily just switch the tanks over to the opposite side. And here comes some more mines. Will burrow. Drilling clause is about done. He crashes through, but where are the units out of Reynor? He's building more Lings and Banes. A double drop is ready to take advantage of this. Trying to scramble to deal with the Widow Mines. The double drop is heading out. More mines coming through. Lings and Banes at the front. Even throws a few Hellbats in from the surviving Hellions. Gonna get on top of these siege tanks. Widowmine takes out some Medivacs, but takes a lot more Zerglings with it. The double drop is being dealt with. But Clem is just grinding through Reynor here. He may very well take out this base. He doesn't have enough Marines to really do so. The Queen's moving forward to deal with the Medivacs and enough transfuses together. Not that much energy left on the Medivacs. Two more to the north. They find an opportunity. Drift into the Spore Crawler. Marines to the south being cleaned up. The Queen's forced to fight the tanks and Marines themselves. Widowmines hit both sides. Banelings rolling in, targeted down. There's only one Medivac left over. We'll pick up and deal with it. Reynor down 30 supply. The Queen's wandering forward, taking terrible, terrible damage. The Widowmines take out two more, plus two Carapace is done. Reynor scrambling to defend. He still has 83 drones, but he has to be able to mine with them. More Widow Mines will take out the Medivacs, and he might be able to drive back this attack, but he's going to lose one base to the south. Barely mining from the north. Clem continues the aggression. 17 Hydras finish now. He's got them all in production here. Reynor barely holding on to his high ground. The Widow Mines have recharged. And the main base is scanned. A Lurker Den is done. He really would love to have some Lurkers. The Widow Mines work both ways. Oh god, the Queen's being absolutely obliterated by the line mine. The mine. Yeah, either way. The Hydras, they don't have groove spines and they don't have speed, but they do have a lot more range than Zerglings. He doesn't actually have any Hydra upgrades right now. Reynor still has managed to hold on. Two Lurkers on the way. Hydra, Lurker range rather. But the reinforcements, and Reynor has not really cleaned this up. He's only driven it back. A couple Lurkers, but Reynor has 4 bases, Clem has 4 bases. The Lurkers could be helpful, but the Widow Mines are driving the point home. Those Lurkers don't have range yet, so he's not able to really keep them at bay. And Reynor just doesn't have the supply here. Another round of Banes is rolling through, but superficial damage. There's still plenty of Medivacs. And ever since that first double-pronged attack, Clem has just been tearing through. There's been no counter damage. There's been nothing on Clem's side of the map to stall out the aggression, to kill the momentum. And Reynor is down 60 supply. Right. The Widow Mines might be able to help kill the Medivacs. More mines coming through. Another Queen obliterated. And I think that's just too many Marines. He stutter steps through the Lurkers. The Queen's gone down. The Hydralisks are not enough. And Clem will take it home. 3-2. A decisive Game 5 as Clem claims the victory. He even had ghosts in production. Just able to lock it down. I think in this sort of scenario where Clem is able to where both players just execute, Clem's able to set up the multi-prong drops and pull Reynor apart. Still though, quite a back and forth dramatic series. Clem still proving why he's the best Terran in the world, or at least quite arguably so. Either way, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you for watching. If you got the means of motivation, that'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free for now. And if you haven't yet checked it out, the second channel for stream VODs of all, well, your favorite games that you might want to check out. And if you want more casts, it'd be awesome to check out recommended as well. The suggested videos help out the most. It's over there. Otherwise, I hope I made your day just a little bit better. I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun. Congratulations to Clem. Thank you for watching. Stay chill.